Twister Talk is now part of WeatherWire. WeatherWire is your home for all weather podcasts, and Twister Talk is proud to be part of something new that gathers different weather podcasts at your keyboard. Go to the website and search Twister Talk and join the fun. Check out weatherwire.tv for all things weather in one place. Twister Talk with Gary and Sue starts now.
Guys, that's it. Right there. There's the tornado. We are just north of Union City, south of El Reno, south of I-40. Cops have blocked off 81 at this point.
Gary, we're in Newcastle right now, and north of us, the thing is still on the ground. There's lots of debris in the air right now. Lots.
You need to be below ground shelter.
I hate Oklahoma.
There are some days I'll have to be below ground shelter and stay there.
Yeah.
I felt like that sometimes. It's Twister Talk. I'm Gary.
I'm Sue.
And we're going to give you an overview wrap-up of an incredible tropical system that just wreaked havoc across parts of the Caribbean. And also, again, just these storms the last couple of years have just been, some of them have just been astounding. You know?
Well, yeah. And of course,
it's like a light switch.
What I think a lot of people have not noticed, because there hasn't been any major impacts on the continental U.S., is that this is actually the third Category 5 storm this year.
That's right, number 3. And that's, I think that beats last year, if I'm right.
I think
or
it
they
might.
tie, yeah. Just real quickly, for those of you that are keeping track, the latest advisory from the Hurricane Center
and the final advisory
is Melissa has become a powerful post-tropical cyclone over the northwest Atlantic. As of 11 o'clock yesterday, the center of Melissa was located near 39.0 degrees north latitude and 60.5 degrees north longitude, moving at a wonderful 48 miles an hour. Where were you last week?
Man, that is absolutely just blasting along, isn't it?
The minimum central pressure was 973 millibars. That's about 28.7 something inches. Maximum sustained winds, though, still 85 miles an hour.
Still hurricane strength, although no longer hurricane up.
But it will be we'll have weather impacts of northern Europe and parts of, I think, Greenland and Iceland over the next few days.
Yeah, I believe it's just south of Iceland at the moment.
A very powerful storm, and it's still going to do, it won't do the kind of damage that we saw over in parts of the Caribbean, but it's going to do some stuff over there. They are expecting some heavy snows in Europe later in the week in the northern parts with the winds and storms. So their version of the nor'easter. So
it sounds nasty.
It was. It's like I said, an incredible storm to follow. You know, we did some updates on Twister Talk to keep you informed of that. And I just, every time we do an update, it's like, my gosh, can it get any worse or get any crazier? And it would.
And it would. Yeah.
And it would. So, Sue, I'll let you start with the backgrounds of the history.
Yeah, it basically was a storm with a 10-day history. It formed on October 21st. It became extratropical on October 31st. Category 5 major hurricane, obviously. 1 minute sustained highest winds, 185 miles an hour.
Man.
Lowest pressure, 26.34 inches, which ties for the third lowest in the Atlantic Basin. Overall effects, fatalities at the current moment are over 56. Injuries over 45, missing over 21. Of course, these are moving figures.
Right.
Damage is still unknown, but in a lot of places, it's extremely serious. Yeah. The areas affected were the Windward Islands and the Greater Antilles, particularly Jamaica, Hispaniola, and eastern Cuba, Colombia, Lucayan Archipelago, and Bermuda. Interestingly, this is currently the strongest tropical cyclone worldwide in 2025 and tied with the 1935 Labor Day hurricane as the most intense landfalling Atlantic hurricane and third most intense Atlantic hurricane overall by central pressure.
Wow. Yeah, Melissa formed from a tropical wave that was first monitored for development on October 16th. The wave originated from West Africa, traveled from the central Atlantic to the Windward Islands, and then moved quickly westward into the Caribbean Sea, where it slowed down and developed tropical storm Melissa on October 21st. First, weak steering currents and moderate wind shear kept Melissa meandering and disorganized for the next few days as it slowly moved northwest. And everybody thinking, is anything going to happen with this? Well, unfortunately, it did. Over time, Melissa did become better organized, and from October 25th to the 27th, rapidly intensified into a Category 5 hurricane before making landfall near New Hope, Jamaica, at peak intensity on October 28th. Now, Melissa emerged from the north coast of Jamaica later that day, weakened, and made landfall over Chivaro, Cuba, the next day. Melissa weakened to a Category 1 hurricane after landfall. and it approached Bermuda as a Category 2, re-strengthened a little bit, then again weakened before becoming hurricane force extratropical low on Halloween, October 31st, northeast of Bermuda. Wow! So that's the history of what that storm did, and the effects were just absolutely tremendous in regard to the damage. Like I said, the damage is still unknown, the prices, but some people are saying the damages are well over, maybe over $10 billion. Again, that's just been thrown out there. I just read that, didn't include in this because I thought, well, we'll have to wait and see. But damage was extreme.
Yeah, and the hurricane holds at least one worldwide current record. The highest wind gust ever measured by a dropsonde at 252 miles an hour, released by an NOAA hurricane hunter at an altitude of 657 feet.
Wow.
So that's 252 miles an hour. That's what, an F4 tornado?
Yes. So basically, you had tornadic winds in some of these areas that lasted not just 10 minutes or 30 seconds, that lasted hours and hours and hours. So imagine getting buffered by a tornado like winds for that long a time. Well, you wonder why everything is gone.
It's also worth recording that this particular storm, basically, two hurricane hunters, one a NOAA P3 and the other one a Air Force Reserve C-130, both had to bail out of this storm because they exceeded their structural limitations. So they had to go back to base for inspections.
So think about that. I mean, these planes are pretty rugged and usually withstand incredible amounts of weather, winds and torrential rains and everything. But they had a time getting out of some of that, from what I understand.
Yeah, there was one time when I think one of the C-130s basically took 20 minutes to find a path out.
Wow, that's how incredibly violent and this storm was. And of course, Sue has posted some of the pictures online of the planes inside the eye wall, and it's just incredible.
It's just incredible,
just beautiful.
Another interesting fact is that Melissa never underwent an eye wall replacement cycle, allowing it to sustain its high intensity for a prolonged period, according to several meteorologists. So this is a very unique storm, and this one will be studied for some time.
Yes, it will be. There's a lot of information that they will glean from this, and it will help them with forecasts down the road. But like I said, as of now, the total right now, the moment of 56 fatalities. That's what we have at the moment. I'm sure that number may go up some.
I'm sure it will go up. I've heard that there are quite a few people still listed as missing.
45 injured, at least 21 missing, probably more. And some of those people that are missing probably have been
overall.
Yeah, overall, and probably those people have some of them may be deceased. We don't know. You have to remember when the landslides, the mudslides burying villages in these isolated communities just getting wiped and flattened by the hurricane. They're starting to get into some of those places in Jamaica, but it's going to take time, Sue, for them to get an accurate count. And it's going to be many, many months. And we'll talk about the rebuilding efforts in a moment, but because that looking at years because of the destruction and the situation financially in some of these areas. But if we could talk about, just real quickly run down some of the impacts by country. So if we have that, we can take a look at
Puerto Rico had no casualties, fortunately. The Dominican Republic had 4 fatalities, and 1 person is still missing. Now, of course, these are moving figures, so this may change. Haiti, 30 fatalities, 15 injuries, 20 people are still listed as missing. Jamaica, 22 fatalities, 13 injuries. They're not sure how many people are missing yet.
Yes.
Cuba had 17 people injured and no fatalities and nobody missing. The evacuation effort on Cuba apparently went very well. Apparently it's something that they have practiced and thought about. In the Bahamas and Bermuda, luckily there were no fatalities or injuries or missing there. Total right now, 56 people who have lost their lives, 45 people injured, and 21 people are still missing.
There's someone we know that works in Cuba and does some things down there, and he reported they were very quickly getting everybody evacuated into the shelters. They did a really good job about that.
That's great.
Haiti, unfortunately, has the largest death toll, and they still are some thoughts that the death toll will be much higher. Again, again, it's hard to say because that's such an impoverished nation.
It sounds like a lot of the fatalities are landslides. And the thing about Haiti is it is very much a deforested area. So when they do get rain, they do tend to get landslides and floods.
And Jamaica, the death toll may go up there, but the fact that only 22 have died so far because they took the brunt of the impact of that hurricane coming ashore with those winds.
I'm sure most of you have looked at some of the images online, and the amount of destruction is just unfathomable.
Well, that's something that we as, we're observing all this and looking at this information to gather up the reports, and you forget sometimes you're looking at just, ink on a paper that the human cost is incredible. Even if you don't die or lose, but most people lost everything.
Yeah, they lost houses basically leveled down to their foundations.
Yeah, those kind of winds and the landslides and the torrential rains and everything, you put that all together, that's more than a recipe for disasters and a recipe for calamity. And that's what's happening like in Jamaica, in Haiti, and even parts of Cuba. Now, the death toll in Cuba was low, but the destruction is still very great, very great. So, but, with everything going on, though, people did work through and get through this. And so we'll talk a little bit about some of those stories. People, some people have some interesting stories to tell about the survival of the hurricane. So we'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, there have been some really frightening accounts from people who actually rode this monstrosity out. And one of the things I keep noticing from some of the accounts I've read was just the sound.
Yes.
The sound was terrifying, and it went on and on and on. This is an account from a tourist. Her name was Deborah Shields, and she was talking to AccuWeather just after the storm. And she said, the sound, I don't think I'll ever forget. The door sounded like it was about to break down. In fact, there's a big crack in the door now because of the wind. It sounded like somebody was grabbing the handle and pushing, trying to get in. It did that for hours.
Wow.
It was one of the scariest things I have ever experienced in my life. And I've seen a lot of accounts like that because the thing just sat there and it went on and on and on and on.
Remind us some of the descriptions you heard about tornadoes, windows creaking, the door,
Yeah.
But you imagine hearing those kind of horrific sounds for hours. I can't even imagine what those people went through. And, we talk about that and it sounds, some people say, well, naturally you wouldn't know, but it's like, no, you really don't know. And we really don't know what you go through.
And I remember when... I can't remember which hurricane it was that came through here.
Well, that was remnants of Ike that time.
Okay, that was remnants of Ike. And I mean, basically, it blew for 3 or 4 hours at 40 or 50 miles an hour. Not gusting, just blowing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was kind of horrible. My dog hated it.
Oh, yeah. Our dog at the time just was cowering.
He was
just frightened and upset.
She was scared crapless. And the thing is, my dog wasn't afraid of storms. She didn't mind lightning. She didn't mind thunder. But boy, she did not like wind.
Yeah, that wind. That wind will set animals off. I've noticed with the dog we had, and even the cats over the years that, and a lot of you out there can attest to it. When the winds get crazy, they get crazy. They get really skittish and everything else, and you can't blame them. And that's something that we forget sometimes. But imagine having those kind of horrific winds hour after hour after hour, and it would test anyone's patience. It'd be hard to remain calm during something like that.
Yeah, I remember there's a storm chaser who actually wrote it out, and he wasn't heard from for quite a while afterwards, and people were really frightened because his last posts had been kind of dreadful.
Yeah, they got pretty bad.
Luckily, he survived.
Good, glad to hear that. It's amazing.
Really scary. Here's somebody in Cuba.
Yeah.
Rinaldo Charan in Santiago de Cuba, 52 years old, and he called it hell all night long. It was terrible. So it was bad in Cuba also.
Wow.
Just awful.
Yeah. Now as of today, the best we could find, Sue, is that there's still many of those areas without power, and that's going to be at some places. It could be well into December.
It's going to take a long time. Now there's one town in Jamaica, and I can't remember where it is. I think it's called Black Rock. They were very fortunate because their bridge survived.
Wow!
And that's actually going to help with recovery a lot. But it's still going to take a long time. Relief is coming in from Europe, from other countries there in the Caribbean, and hopefully they'll be able to get things back together. But I mean, it's a very poor country.
It is. It really is. Now, like I said, in Cuba, just to follow up, that they were able to. 735,000 people were evacuated to countries from the regions, and taken care of.
That's really organized.
And they did a really good job on that. And other places, there are places in Jamaica that were able to evacuate or move to safer areas. Haiti, no. Haiti were at least prepared, but they're always going to be because of the poverty.
There's probably no place to go.
Oh, that's just it, And there is no place. And a lot of these people, you have to remember, they're living in very poorly constructed houses because that's it, and they're having to survive a storm that is going to turn that house into literally a pile of sticks.
Well, you're talking about a storm basically like Hurricane Andrew,
right? Absolutely.
And everybody has seen the pictures of the devastation to houses in Florida that, of course, are reasonably well built from that particular storm, and then when you hit a place like Jamaica where things aren't as well constructed, it's going to be dreadful.
Yeah, and the effects were as far as west as the Colombian coast. They had issues there with rip tides and high swells and currents, and so we forget sometimes. We know that the immediate impact on islands like Jamaica or anywhere like let's say a hurricane landfalls in Florida and goes through there, but sometimes we forget that the effects of those storms can reach hundreds of miles up the coast.
Oh, yeah.
The Carolinas, all the way up to Virginia, and at times even Delaware. These things happen. That's because I think, and I know we've talked about it before, but the scope of weather that surrounds a hurricane has effects for hundreds of miles. It's something else. It's something to behold. Like you said, it's a heat engine. And just watching it, I watch the satellite images, and you just sit and go, man. And you have a real respect for the power of these storms, and there are tragic things going to happen. And again, there are relief organizations. Again, we've talked about that in the past. Do a Google search online. There's some very reputable organizations you can contribute to. They need money now. Some places have already pledged money, and already in those areas helping out, but. Again, just incredible. There are good stories, though. Some families were reunited. People did survive. They got through it. And now even the government of Jamaica has basically said that the all clear has begun for the restoration of utility service. Happened earlier this week, but they are proceeding as planned. And that directive comes from the passage of Melissa, which is now a Category 1 storm moving well north of everywhere. And the Minister of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information, Senator Dr. the Honorable Dana Morris Dixon, speaking at the morning October 29th press briefing at the National Emergency Center in Kingston, Jamaica this past week, said the all-clear was issued on guidance of the Weather Service of Jamaica and the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPM. Okay, so where you go, Sue, there's initials everywhere. I've just noticed that.
There definitely are.
When we gave the all-clear, it means our utility company should now commence restoration and recovery operations across the island. So crews from the Jamaica Public Service, GPS, National Water Commission, National Works Agency, and also our telecommunication companies and other critical service entities have now and will be advised to mobilize immediately to restore electricity, water, and communication networks, she said. Meanwhile, Minister Morris Dixon urged entities such as supermarkets, wholesales, gas stations, and pharmacies to open for business, particularly in less impacted areas. We're asking you to open and allow communities to have access to the essential goods and services. As always, we continue to ask and remind Jamaicans to exercise caution on the roads, especially where there are down power lines, debris, or flooding, and so please be careful.
Yeah, fortunately, the airport at Kingston, I don't think took any damage at all.
No,
and it's a pretty good-sized airport. Now, the airport that services Montego Bay, I know was damaged, but I think it is at least partly open for relief flights to go in and out.
So relief flights have already been commencing. They happened not long after the hurricane exited and headed toward Cuba. So they were able to get things into gear pretty quickly. That's not going to be said for a lot of the Caribbean. Let's face it. I mean, Haiti and places like that are going to be dealing with some significant issues for many months. Unfortunately, they're used to it down there, which is even sadder. The Bahamas are in fairly good shape. Not too much damage there. They'll be able to work through it. And, of course, Bermuda, kind of a glancing blow. Again, not much there. Thankfully, By the time the storm got to Bermuda, it lost a lot of its punch. Even going to the Bahamas, it lost a lot of its punch. Even though it did intensify a little bit, it wasn't what it could have been. I can't imagine, Sue, if that had been a Cat 5 that splayed into the Bahamas and Bermuda, that would have been horrific.
That would have been pretty catastrophic.
Yeah, it would have been awful. So that's a wrap up on Hurricane Melissa, an historic storm, one that just, for the record books, and how it got there, how it meandered, how it just literally overnight, like throwing white gas on a fire, just went foomp. Yep. And it did an incredible amount of damage. The death toll is not as bad as it could have been. Thankfully, I'm sure there more deaths will be recorded, but when you think about how the death toll could have been horrific on this storm, thankfully it was not, and that's a good point. So that's our look at that. And any closing thoughts on that, Sue?
Nope, except I have to say that so far the U.S. kind of has dodged a number of bullets this year. Right,
and I hope that number will stay up during the rest of the year. We'll have to wait and see, but I tell you, it's something to sit and behold. And I think that's why Sue and I enjoy the weather so much, because it always has something, a newness to it and a freshness. You can study it and take it and go, wow.
It's always interesting.
And you learn. For Twister Talk, I'm Gary.
I'm Sue.
And take care. We'll talk to you soon.